Hey everyone, how's it going? So I am here to do my TBR for November. I said when I did my TBR video for October that TBRs don't usually work for me, but in October I knocked my October TBR out of the park, which I didn't share very well, just because I was wrapped up in making videos for my reading of the Divine Comedy. But I may do a sort of wrap-up of my favorite books that I read in October tomorrow or sometime this weekend. But I wanted to run down what I'm going to be reading this month, because once again, there are some obligatory reads, as there were last month. And the first of those is Don Quixote by Cervantes. And I'm going to be reading the Edith Grossman translation, which Head and Shoulders is the translation that has been recommended to me left and right. And I'm really looking forward to it. I've already read about 80 pages. I'm really enjoying it so far. And yeah, I'm actually just really looking forward to getting immersed into a really long novel, actually. Feels like it's been a really long time since I've done that. I feel like a lot of the things I've been reading, if they haven't been long epic poems and they've been like short plays or nonfiction or poetry, so I'm really just looking forward to reading a modern novel, the first modern novel, I suppose, and just getting lost in it, because it's huge. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm buddy reading this with Crystal from Biblioatlas and Elena Macredina. So yeah, we are going to be chatting on Voxer some about it, and I'm hopefully going to be making a video about it, and yeah, anyway. Related to that is this. The Western Canon, The Books in School of the Ages by Harold Bloom. So this is his big book about the Western Canon, about many of the books and authors that have been important in literature throughout the history of the Western world. And in this book, he basically he has an introduction and like an epilogue where he just discusses the canon generally and how important it is. But then the middle chapters are taken up by discussions of individual authors, of 26 authors that Harold Bloom sees as central to the Western canon. And, among them are, of course, Shakespeare and Dante and Cervantes. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be reading the chapter in here about Cervantes. I actually did read the chapter in here about Dante's Divine Comedy when Elena and I read it this month. And I enjoyed it. I'll be doing the same for Cervantes. And the main reason I haven't read this book cover to cover is just because I haven't read all of the authors who are in here. I want to read at least a sampling of all the authors he discusses in particular before I read the whole book. But once I do, I will read the thing cover to cover. But for now, I'm happy just kind of chipping away at it, reading the sections that are relevant to the reading I'm doing now. And I figured it was relevant to Nonfiction November, so yeah. My next read is also relevant to Nonfiction November, and it is also a buddy read with two other booktubers. It's the Ecclesiastical History of the English People by Bede. This is a very old history of England from the 600s or 700s. That Bede, who was a monk, wrote the monks in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, as they're so called, were sort of the scholars, the people who had the time and the resources to read and write, and had the ability to read, that is. And Bede was a monk, and so he wrote this, what is considered his masterwork, A History of the English People, which is supposed to be a history of the churches in England, but kind of turned into a wider history of just England in general, and I do believe it begins with Caesar's conquest of England. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've dipped into this translation just at certain parts, and it sounds very readable. And I'm buddy reading it with Elena Macredina again, and Wilson Shugart. So I'm really looking forward to that. We're going to be chatting on Voxer some. And yeah, this will be really cool. I'm looking forward to this. And lastly, I could not let a month go by without some poetry, so I am reading Ask Me 100 Essential Poems by William Stafford. William Stafford is a late 20th century American poet who I had never heard of until Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse talked about him in one of his videos. And Jason said that William Stafford is the most important American poet of the second half of the 20th century. And my main response to that was, Stafford who? I'd never heard of him, so I found this in the library and just grabbed it. So I will be working on this. I'm sort of probably almost halfway through it, but I'll hopefully be finishing this this month. And yeah, so that is what I'm reading this month. And I may be reading other things. Who knows? I don't know if I'll have time, especially since, as you all know, Don Quixote is a huge book. But anyway, let me know what you all are reading, and thank you for watching. Bye, guys.